think the other lesson that I've learned in parenting my children is to get them involved in what I'm doing, so that people who know me know them, and they're involved in activism. Sometimes my children will have the bullhorn at a rally and be the loudest people there, or they'll have a sign, they're walking the picket line. And that's so important so that they don't feel disconnected from me. They don't feel like mom and her work is separate from mom and us. That they feel like mom and her work and us, we all kind of go together. But there's also that separate mom and advocate and Ashanti time where we're outside playing in the snow, or on a beautiful day we're taking a walk, or we're listening to music and dancing together. So there's that, we get that time for us, but they also get to appreciate and respect the work that I do. Because that's important. They should value and appreciate and respect the work that I do.
Okay. Could you tell America the different things that we're doing in Louisville as far as the different programs and forums that is planned? What I really want you to do is break down the whole media forum, right? So people can really understand what's going on with that.
So we're doing a lot at Kentucky Jobs with Justice, which is where I work. I'm coordinator of Kentucky Jobs with Justice, which is part of a national network that fights for economic justice and workers' rights. And so at this moment, we're doing a partnership project with the Ann Braden Institute at the University of Louisville, and it's looking at how people in low and moderate income neighborhoods in Louisville, mostly Black and Latino neighborhoods, are using different forms of new media to connect to social justice groups like Kentucky Jobs with Justice. And this work has been so exciting and engaging. We've done focus groups, we've done door knocking, we've done library surveys to really find out how people know about our groups and whether or not they're connecting with us on MySpace or Facebook or following us on Twitter or whatever the case may be. And we've got a lot of valuable information. And one of the pieces of information that we've gathered is that the digital divide in Louisville is beginning to shrink, which is a good thing, because we have free library access, people are getting more access at home, or more and more people are getting access at home, and more people are beginning to feel comfortable with new media, although there is still a generational gap. I think it's important to know that the digital divide is shrinking, but there's still a generational gap where older folks feel uncertain about the internet and feel like if they put too much information out there, somehow someone's going to use that negatively. So we got to figure out how we get beyond that generational gap. So that project is still moving forward. We're doing community forums now to share the information that we gathered. So it's not typical research that gets done and then sits on a shelf or gets published in an article somewhere that nobody ever uses. But instead, we're actually taking the information we're gathering, making policy recommendations, sharing it with the neighborhoods that we focused on, and saying, here's how you can use or benefit from or take the lessons we learned to improve your outreach and your engagement and your relationship building and your activism.
Okay, all right. I got different things going on in my head right now. I'm gonna ask you a cliche question, which is going to lead off into a interesting dialogue.
Okay,
I
might
feel.
give you a cliche answer. Let's see.
Okay, all right. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. Could you tell me how you agreed with both, and how, if you even had a disagreement with either, or even if you agreed with either, could you tell me, how much of them is in your approach, but you don't necessarily have to talk about them per se, just the whole nonviolent approach versus the revolutionary mindset. Could you kind of?
For me, I never felt like I had a disagreement with either, because I think what made them beautiful is that they were around at the same time. And so there was this good balance of the Dr. King philosophy and the Malcolm X philosophy from the Nation of Islam and Dr. King's civil rights philosophy. So for me, that was a good balance. So I didn't feel like I ever disagreed with any of them. And in fact, when my generation started being called Generation X, I embraced it and said, yes, I'm Generation Malcolm X. That's me. That's who I am. And so I never felt disagreement. I always felt like there was a kinship there, that I could relate to what both of them were saying, what both of them were doing. Because there's a time to fight, and then there's a time to step back and say, let's look at this situation in a different way. Maybe this is a time to dialogue and have a conversation and to talk. But then other times it's time for action, because that talking is not getting you anywhere.
Exactly. And what I like is that, people, the media always want to pump Malcolm X you know, that one saying that everybody knows him by any means necessary, and then the other saying by the doctor, I have a dream today. Just small portions of words that they've said in the multitude of conversations and speeches they've gave.
Right.
These two coined phrases has become, you know, the hallmark characteristics of. When you hear that, you know it came from Malcolm. You hear the other one, you know it came from the doctor. Could you expound on the messages that Malcolm X was giving to people, but parts of his speeches where the media really didn't pay that much attention to, and as well for the doctor? Because, you know, Dr. King had a strong political mind.
Yes, yes.
And he was a revolutionary. The Dr. King, Martin Luther King, was a revolutionary. A lot of people don't understand that about him. So could you touch on that? And Malcolm was a peaceful brother. He really actually loved peace.
Yes.
And when he actually grew beyond Malcolm X, and when he died, his name was El Haj Malik El Shabazz. So, you know.
I wish that people could have seen The Meeting, which was a play that was here in January, and I got to see it around my birthday, and it was a meeting of Dr. King and Malcolm X, what that would have looked like had they come together. And it was so moving, and it was so passionate, and it was so full of that love that you talked about, because that's what they both brought to what they did, was love. And so people should try to take the opportunity wherever they are in this country to see the play, The Meeting, but they should also read the autobiography of Malcolm X. They should get to know these men on a different level, but they should also push themselves to find out about the women who were involved with the Nation of Islam and the women who were involved with the Civil Rights Movement, because it's not just about analyzing and digesting these men and what they had to say or what they did, but it's also about the women who were powerful as well that we tend to leave behind and forget about, because they weren't these, you know, figures that were embraced by the white media.
They wasn't icons.
They weren't icons. They were doing their thing every day, making it happen. So we got to learn more about the women who were involved as well. You know, we need to know September Clark. You know, we need to know what we need to know more than just Rosa Parks. We need to know what made the Civil Rights Movement what it was, and what made the Nation of Islam what it was.
Okay. And this is the last part right here. If you have something you want to tell Louisville, tell America, some engagements you might have coming up, some causes, some issues you want people to support.
Oh, I wouldn't be an activist if I didn't. So there are a lot of things going on. People need to be calling their, if they're in Kentucky, call their state senator and ask them to support House Bill 70, which is the restoration of voting rights for former felons, because we have to have those basic civil rights restored. We need people, to at the same time oppose Senate Bill 68, which will not allow people who are single or people who are gay and lesbian to adopt children. Who would want children to languish in a system that cannot love them the way an individual can or a family can? We also need to, we're looking for people to
That's a big subject right there.
That's a huge subject.
It's actually
and
a bill.
I'm a Christian, and I'm proud of it. And I'm a black woman, and I oppose SB 68.
Yeah, could you expound on that, please? Could you explain to the people what that is, exactly what that bill does?
Senate Bill 68 will not allow people who are single and people who are gay or lesbian to adopt children in Kentucky. To me, that's a travesty. As a mother of 2 children, I don't want any child to languish in the foster care system without parents who love them, without people who will adopt them and care for them like I care for my children.
And the only thing that bill is doing is cutting out a large portion of the state from adopting children. So that means there's going to be more children in the system not being able to be adopted because this bill is trying to get passed.
That means that the 6,000 to 7,000 children who currently are looking for a home will have more children joining them.
That'll double. As soon as that bill passes, that'll double. Because not only are you taking away that right from a lot of people, you're also hurting a lot of children. You're putting a lot of children, you're closing a lot of doors.
And it's all connected, because then some of those children are going to end up doing some things that they otherwise wouldn't have done if they had a loving household to grow up in. So they will then need their civil rights restored eventually, because they may get caught up into some situations that they would have otherwise thought better of had they had 2 parents or 1 parent who really loved them, saying, you know, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, this is how you make decisions. So it's all connected.
Okay. One question. Do you feel like it's okay for a child to be raised in a homosexual environment?
I feel like, as a Christian, straight, black woman, that it is fine for a child to be raised in a gay household.
Wow. Okay, you